are you doing?
I'm going to call this December meeting of the Boone County Board of Education to order. Looks like we do have all members present. Item 2, we're going to rise for the national anthem presented by Connor High School.
No.
Oh, really?
The video
Couldn't-
didn't make it to us. So
The video didn't make it. Got
to
it.
sing.
Are you going to sing?
Oh,
Sing.
I'm in.
Connie, would you like to sing?
All right, let's stand anyway.
Oh, it's just the video.
No Connor High School kids do, right? Okay. All right, we're going to move with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move to motion to amend the agenda to add the updated invoice from the Northern Kentucky Education Council as a new business item XB.
Okay. XB. So there's a motion to amend the agenda. There's a second by Ms. Byrd. What did we say it was? XB. All right. We need an all in favor vote. All in favor of amendment of the agenda to add item XB to consider again this year the Northern Kentucky Education Council contract. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. No. Any noes? So 3, 4. Okay, so 4-1. Sorry. All right, that item will be added to the agenda, item XB. All right, on to item 4, good news items. Turn the meeting over to Dr. Hauswald for good news.
Yes, good evening, Board. Thank you. I always look forward to this opportunity to present some good news in the district. First, we will begin with the 2024 December Break the Mold recipient. I see Vicky here. So, Vicky, if you want to come on up. Do you want to watch the video and then come up? Or so first we're going to show a video. Vicky is a substitute teacher at Kelly Elementary. This is why you see all of Kelly Elementary School. I will tell you, I was at Kelly Elementary School today, and they asked me if I was going to be wearing a green tie to the meeting tonight, Vicky, for you and for the school. But I haven't had a chance to go home and change, so forgive me. So, all right, the video's first.
Yeah?
How many pictures are going to be in each row?
Like many schools, Kelly Elementary had a teaching position to fill, but the ongoing teacher shortage made it near impossible. Vicki Begley, a retired teacher, was brought in to sub until a permanent solution was found. But as it worked out, Vicki was the solution.
Last year in particular, we had we have our unit and our autism unit, and we didn't have a teacher, and Ms. Begley stepped in, and she hit her 100 days of being able to sub, and she came out of retirement to teach because she told me that she couldn't leave the kids, and she knew that they needed her, and she was here until to the end of the school year.
Mrs. Begley's teaching career goes all the way back to 1981. She coached at Connor High School, boys track, boys and girls cross country, and a few years later opened Kelly Elementary in 1986 as a physical education teacher. She retired 10 years ago and has been subbing ever since.
When she retired, I know she missed the school setting and wanted to come back, so she started subbing. She could walk into any classroom and take over whatever was on course for that day, and it always gave me like peace of mind knowing that she was going to be the one to walk into my classroom, because I know my kids weren't going to miss a beat that day.
Which two of those would help you get that answer?
Those who are retired know that stepping out of retirement does not come without risk. It takes a special dedication from a very special educator.
I just love what I do.
And so too do her students.
Miss Baker is the best because she teaches me math, and she is the best teacher in the whole wide world.
2 years ago, I liked the Bengals. Last year, I liked the Cowboys, and this year, 49ers.
Whatever his interest was at the moment, we built on that.
She recognized that this student who was first grade, reading at about a fourth, fifth grade level as a first grader, and football was where he had his big interest. That's where he was motivated to learn. She designed all the lessons based on football. She was working with him on third and fourth grade standards, but completely with his interest.
Mrs. Begley says over the years she found creativity to be the key to gaining a student's interest in any subject.
A lot of kids don't like PE. So you have to be creative to get them all to enjoy it and get them all involved, regardless of what their ability level is, or if they're enjoying it or not. So it kind of goes along together.
Mrs. Begley says Trevor Barnett is an exceptionally bright and intelligent student, and he likes to do his own Yelp reviews. I asked him what his Yelp review would be for Mrs. Begley.
It would be a 3-star, and she would say, "Good, needs some improvements."
I can believe that, and that could be interesting, because some days he didn't like me very much when I said we are working even though you don't want to, or no, you can't take a nap, and he knew what I expected, and he did it.
She truly invests in all of her students. It doesn't matter how little or how big the achievement, she wants them to know that she's excited, so they get excited about it.
She understands the special ed world. She does her goalkeeping. She keeps up with her data. She does everything, even though she's a substitute teacher right now. She's a full operating teacher, and she understands that world. She understands the laws that come with special education that may not necessarily be in PE, and she executes it at a high level.
I literally have not ever seen a teacher be able to play so many different roles at her ability. Like, she walks in, what needs to be done, she's going to get it done.
The average teacher, they know their job, they're accomplished, they're able to meet the goals, they're able to meet their deadlines, they're able to move students and students' growth. So that would be an average teacher. She shatters that.
I can't even tell you how much she deserves this award. She's a very humble person, so I know she's like, but she is so deserving. So I hope she embraces this moment to let her know that we celebrate her.
Most of us see retirement as being on the beach with her feet kicked up, and she is dedicated to students. She's dedicated to Boone County Schools. She's dedicated to Kelly, and she definitely took a lot of risks and sacrificed for us and for our students.
I appreciate Kathy nominating me, but I would still do my job regardless.
All right, Mrs. Begley, congratulations for winning that award.
Congratulations, Miss Begley, for winning the award. We love you.
Vicki, thank you for everything you've always done for Kelly Elementary, especially the last few years stepping into some roles that we did not foresee. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. You make every day wonderful here at Kelly Elementary. Even as a substitute teacher walking into the classroom, I know that the kids will not miss a beat that day. We just are so grateful that you're part of the Kelly family. We love you.
Vicki, I can't put into words eloquently enough how much you mean to Kelly Elementary. Congratulations. So deserving for shattering the mold. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you.
At this time, a lot of times I provide a small narrative before, but previously watching this video, it tells the story so much better. But, you know, and the times I've had to visit Kelly Elementary, almost every time I've visited a classroom and I've interacted directly with Vicki. And I mean, you know, Miss Begley is I know just a strong presence in that school. And I know how much she's loved, and I think it's just an amazing story that 43 years of service, and she just continues to find a way to give back to the students in our district. It is, and some of the times when I have seen Miss Begley in the room, she's so occupied with students. I've walked in before and she didn't even notice me, and that's great because she's so focused on taking care of our students. So the video tells itself, and I will tell you, Miss Begley, that your Yelp rating would probably be higher than mine. So for what it's worth, we really appreciate it, and thank you for all you do. At this point, if we'll have Ms. Begley come up, we have a plaque and a mug to give you. And then if the rest of the staff would also come up, we'd like to do a photo for all of you here that are specifically recognizing and showing their appreciation for Ms. Begley. Come on up. We'll get one with the staff. Who nominated you? You did. So you're the one that has to. I answered who I was supposed to be mad at. Not me, but I think it's part of the privilege. So go ahead. You want- Gotcha. You know, we'll give you the microphone if you would like to say a few words. I think Trevor said it all. Well, we all have that student we know by name. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Now for good news item number 2, Milk and Family Foundation National Educator Award. This is truly hot off the press. In a surprise ceremony, 5th grade teacher Jenna Stewart was celebrated yesterday at Long Branch Elementary by the Milk and Family Foundation, Kentucky Education Commissioner Robbie Fletcher, and Kentucky's First Lady Brittany Bashir for receiving this prestigious Educator Award. It was created by Lowell Milken in 1987. The Milken Educator Awards publicly recognize excellence in teaching not only to inspire educators, but also students and communities to celebrate, elevate, and activate the American K-12 teaching profession. Ms. Stewart will attend the Milken Educator Forum next year to network with colleagues and exchange ideas with state and federal leaders on the future of education. I believe that's out in California. And it was a surprise. I know that Ms. Stombaugh and I were the only ones allowed to know And so the family weren't there for this. We had an incredible ceremony. Special thanks to Board Chair Parks and Board Member Wolf. They came knowing the commissioner was going to speak, but not knowing it was going to result in Miss Stewart being recognized as the only Milken Award winner in the state of Kentucky, and provided with a thank you check of $25,000. So, may I tell a story, Jenna? So, in talking to Jenna yesterday, she said that there was that they had been busy, lots of things going on at home, and she told her husband that there was an assembly today, and the husband jokingly said, "Well, maybe you guys are all going to get a stipend." And so she said then she got to call him and said, "I did $25,000," but it was quite an honor. To just have a teacher in our ranks, and it's our second one recently to receive this award. And I don't usually cry until I see the teacher or the recipient cry, and that's when Miss Stombaugh and I just started getting tears in our eyes. It was quite an honor. So at this point, we are so proud to have Miss Stewart come up and to recognize her for this award. And also this time you do have to say a couple words. So okay, come on up.
Okay.
Photo first.
Do I look face now? This is very new for me. I thought I was going to get out of speaking because she got out of speaking, but guess not. I just want to say thank you to the Milken Family Foundation. Yesterday was a complete shock. Still kind of soaking it all in. I couldn't be the person I am or the educator I am without the support from my family, my colleagues, former teachers. I also want to thank former and current students. They're my main why I keep doing what I'm doing. So it's an honor to receive this award, and I'm looking forward to all that it entails. So thank you.
Anybody you want to point at your family?
Oh, yeah, I mentioned.
Yes,
So I called my dad yesterday.
came on speakerphone yesterday in front of the media, right?
So the media says to me, hey, I need you to call someone. Is there anyone you can call? I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking in my head, if I call all these people, they're probably going to like cuss, and there's all these news people looking at me, and I'm still sweating and still shaking. I had no idea really what the award was that I had won. So I called my husband, who was at a client at the time. We have 2 small children. If you heard the one, she sounds awful. So he answers the phone, and he's about to start a meeting. So he's like, hello? And I'm like, everything's okay, but I need to tell you something. He's like, what's up? So I tell him, and his reactions kind of sounded like I was talking to the mailman, like not much surprise. He was like, oh, cool. Aren't you glad you dressed up today? So I hang up the phone with him, and like the news people are just like kind of looking at me. I'm like, do you need me to call someone else? So I call my dad, who I thought for sure was going to drop some cuss words. He and my mom were watching my 2 girls, and they happened to be out and about with them. So my he said he could hear people laughing on the phone when his first reaction. So he said he thought to himself, I'm either being recorded or you're on speaker. So he refrained from using any cuss words. But when I talked to him later, that's when he was like, holy. So it was a fun day for sure. Thank you.
One family. Stephanie, we'll do one with family. We'll get one. Is this who you were talking about for the second part of your story?
So this is my dad.
Yeah, I'll say. Okay, so.
And as I called my mom, I was
We have lots of good news this month. So for good news item number 3, Art Teacher of the Year, I'd like to congratulate Boone County High School's Alexis Taylor. She was recently named Secondary Art Teacher of the Year at the 2024 Kentucky Art Educator Awards last month at Bellarmine University in Louisville. So come on up, please. We have a lapel pin, Alexis, and we'd like to do some photos. Oh, is she on here? Okay. Well, we will ship the lapel pin. No. I will personally take it to her. And our congratulations to Alexis. So good news item number 4, 2024 Outstanding Paraeducator. Veronica Ronnie Smith of Mann Elementary School is the 2024 Outstanding Kentucky Paraeducator. This award honors Kentucky paraeducators currently involved in direct or related services to students with disabilities and who also provide exemplary service to students and special educators. Ronnie was selected for an unwavering commitment to diversity, caring, and respect for all individuals, and she was honored at the 2024 Exceptional Children's Conference in Louisville. Ronnie, we're so proud of you. If you will come up, and as well, I know I see Connie here, and Ronnie will give you the opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll have Connie. And then we'll have Connie say a few words as well. Come on up. And Connie will get one with the staff. If there's anyone else that would like to come on up here, Ronnie. Come on, I know there's more than, I knew there was more than Connie, so. Connie, while they're walking up, do you have any comments, please?
She's just amazing. I'm so glad she got this. She has a true commitment to helping kids, and every time we have a problem, we think, call Ronnie. That's what we do.
Ronnie, would you like to say anything?
First time ever I'm speechless.
Oh, great. Next good news item number 5, Boone County Schools Achieving Excellence Together Award. The Community Business Partnership of ABB Optical, and we just talked a little bit earlier, and Amy Sidney Banks with the Boone County School District through Project Search was recognized by the Kentucky Council for Exceptional Children. ABB Optical is the 2024 KYCEC Business of the Year. This award recognizes businesses that have provided for the enhancement, awareness, and employment of individuals with exceptionalities to promote and support their full participation within the community. An incredible and honorable cause. ABB Optical was also honored at the 2024 Exceptional Children's Conference in Louisville. Congratulations, ABB Optical and Amy Banks. We would like to present you with our Achieving Excellence Together Award and have some photos. Come on up. Thank you. Our business partnerships make a difference in our individual schools and with our students, and we're so appreciative of everything that you do. And I know, I hope you put this in a prominent place for all to see, because we are so appreciative of all the support and everything you do.
Very welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
And finally, good news item 6. This is a tough one for all of us. It's the recognition of Dr. Maria Brown's school board service. Tonight is the last school board meeting for Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, Maria, if I may, has served on this school board for 11 years, and to a fault, she's always put the students of the district first in her research and in her decisions. The research is important, as you know. She is a college, a university professor. So that's important to her. Dr. Brown, we want to sincerely thank you for more than a decade of service. So we do have a gift we would like to present to you in recognition of your time and dedication working as a member of the Boone County School Board and personally, the entire board was so receptive as part of my transition, and Maria Brown's been one of those. She's been supportive both professionally and in making sure that I transition smoothly to this district, as has the entire board, as well as personally and reaching out, and it's meant the world. All of you have. And so, Maria, sincerely, we wish you the best, and I thank you for the brief opportunity to serve with you for 6 months. So, well, come over. We got to get a photo. And I'm well aware that we have board member comments at the very end, so I have a feeling I won't get the last words. So I at least got a word, Dr. Brown.
And I just want to say thank you. I have met some of the coolest people in this district, and I think one of the things that kept me going, because after 11 years, it's not all easy. We fought some fires together, Karen and I did. But what I always kept at heart is those committees that we served on, and the people we served with, and the students we saw and talked to. That's what made it all worth it. So, and I always tell people, no matter what you hear, go spend 5 minutes in a school. And you'll go, you know what? I just hear a couple bad things. This isn't what we're about. 99.9999% of it is amazing. And I'm blessed that my kids have experienced, I experienced that a long time ago. My kids have experienced that, and it's been a blessing. It's gone so fast. So thank you for putting up with me and listening to me for 11 years. And luckily, I have an 8th grader and a junior, so I'm not going anywhere. I'll just be on the other side. I'll wait for them to shut me off in 2 minutes, but it's been a while.
Do I do that or does he? Okay. And that concludes the good news for the evening. We have a lot to celebrate, and a lot of amazing business partners and teachers, subs, employees, students. It's just a great place to be. So thank you. It's probably the most important 30 minutes we dedicate to this meeting is recognizing those that are making this district as successful as it is. So thank you to all of you. And with that, I turn it back over to Chairman Parks.
All right, item 5, Mr. Wyatt Levi will give the student board member representative report.
Good evening, everyone. Our last meeting was last Wednesday, like always, first Wednesday of the month. This meeting was led by the Access and Opportunities Committee, headed by Nolan Fitzgerald from Ignite. It was a really, really good meeting. We had 3 different Family Resource and Youth Service Center coordinators come in and really share about what they consider to be equity in their roles in our schools and how fundamental they are. So I would like to thank Ms. Taryn Ray from Connor High School, Mr. Jalen Clark from R.A. Jones, and Ms. Jennifer Hayter from Burlington Elementary. They've had an absolutely fantastic presentation, and I can't put into words how much the kids understood and got a greater appreciation for what it is that our Family Resource and Youth Service Centers do. I think a really, really good way to sum up what they said was I will paraphrase here, but an anecdote that Mr. Jalen Clark gave. He was talking about the role that these centers play, and their goal isn't to find 2 students and, we want them to pick the same amount of apples. But one student may be taller than another student, so he's obviously going to be more equipped to pick apples. Well, our youth service center, family resource centers, their job isn't to step in and make them the same height. It's to step in and give the shorter kid a ladder. So he does have the same opportunity to pick the same amount of apples, even if he didn't have that opportunity to begin with. I think it's that's an absolutely fantastic anecdote and analogy to really explain what it is the centers do. And after that, after they had their discussion, the students broke into small groups where they then discussed a prompt that was a scenario on something that went wrong, right? For instance, one of the scenarios was somebody's pants ripped. And these things could make students feel embarrassed, unsafe, hurt, whatever it may be. The scenarios gave them a level of discomfort, and it was their job to discuss ways where they could find solutions to these problems. Oftentimes, we're being fixed by the youth service center or in family resource centers. For instance, back to the pants analogy or pants scenario, they would go to the center and they'd be able to support them with different clothes that they would need to make it through the school day without feeling that embarrassment that would get in the way of an education. Everyone did a great job with that. We had a really, really great discussion in all the groups, and it went very, very well. When we went to our high school meeting, I would like to congratulate the 3 new officers. We discussed those last meeting. I would mention that we were going to have 3 new officers for the SSAC high school, and those would be a vice chair, a secretary, and a historian. So I would like to congratulate Austin Reed, our new vice chair, Aubrey Reed, our new secretary, and Wendy Griffith, our new historian. So I would like to just take a moment to really thank them and everything that they do. They are absolutely fantastic, and if it wasn't for them and really all the leadership that we have on SSAC, we wouldn't be able to do nearly the things that we do. And I'm certain that with them being able to step into a new and more impactful role, we're going to be able to do even more in the future, which I'm super, super excited for. Additionally, me and Dr. Hauswald last Thursday, we had a additional meeting which went very, very well. We were able to discuss a lot of topics, and I think it's going to be really, really important that we are going to try and set this up monthly. That way I have a more direct line of contact with the superintendent for both the students and any other concerns that I can voice with him, and we can discuss solutions to ideas and also talk about things that we like and I think are going very well in the district. So I think that's going to be very, very impactful as well, and I'm very excited for it. Lastly, I would like to thank Mr. Yusuf Saidi here. He is the 2023-2024 student rep. He has been a fantastic mentor for me, and I couldn't put into words how grateful I am for him. He is doing wonderful things out on his own. He is the president of KISCA, right? I just wanted to clarify. He's the president of KISCA along with many, many other things, and he's doing a fantastic job. He plays an instrumental role with SSAC, and I just want to thank him for coming out here and giving us his time and his care to, even though he's not in this role, he's still coming to the board meetings, and I think we can all really appreciate that and commend him on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Levi. Any questions from Mr. Levi or comments? All right. As always, we really appreciate you being here, and it's good to see you, my friend. All right, we'll move on to item 6. Turn the meeting over to Dr. Hauswald for the superintendent's report.
Good evening, board. I just have a few items. First of all, to Wyatt, thank you so much for the leadership. I do have the opportunity to attend the student advisory meetings once a month here at the Ralph Rush Professional Development Center, and to just see Wyatt and all of the student leaders really just facilitating those important conversations with the students and having follow-up with him on terms of really the goals, priorities of the students and how we can better serve them. Lots of conversation about opportunity and access and making sure that we're leveling the playing field. Wyatt has just a true heart for that and just a laser focus on that. And I'm grateful for the wherewithal he shows in terms of concern for all students and making sure that students do not miss educational opportunities due to circumstances beyond their control. And so I always tell him that I wish I had his maturity when I was 45, let alone 17. So congratulations, and again, thank you so much for that. Last thing I'll say before I have one formal report that is required. A special thank you. You may notice tonight I took, so we have a guest with us today, Dr. Demetrius Liggins. Dr. Liggins is superintendent at Fayette County, and so he, as you know, as a beginning superintendent, which I I am in the state of Kentucky, we have mentors, and they have an entire list of things that we have the opportunity to do. And I think sometimes I do find myself saying, oh, I can't believe, da-da-da-da. And one of those requirements is that I do a shadow with the mentor that you're assigned, DL. I was lucky enough to be assigned DL as a mentor. He was unlucky enough to get me. And so, but I had an opportunity to shadow DL and his leadership in Fayette County, as well as attend one of his board meetings. And then today, he reciprocating because he's required to the opportunity. But I will tell you that today, as we visited some of our schools, we talked about strategies, we talked about leadership, and then I told him I would take him to a fine dining experience he had never experienced. So we went to Skyline, and as we're sitting there, he has the bib on, and I'm braving it. And even we walk in, and someone goes, "Oh no, 2 suits! Are you guys here to inspect us?" And I said, "Well, we'll see if I get indigestion or not." But nonetheless, as we're sitting there for about an hour tonight at Skyline, we're just going back and forth. We're talking about learning theory and leadership theory. We're talking about a theory of justice, for example. We're talking about the stresses we feel, the physical pressures, and we're just sitting there, and both of us are taking notes. Both of us are taking notes about things Dr. Liggins is saying, basically. And but nonetheless, I do appreciate the opportunity, and I know that the time we spend with others in the field and an opportunity to just listen and learn about things to do and maybe things not to do makes us stronger. So DL, thanks for coming up tonight. We were in my office at the end of the day, and he said, "What time is the board meeting?" And because a lot of times they're earlier. And I said 7. He kind of snapped his neck around, and he goes, "Really?" And I said, "Oh yeah, good things come to those who wait." So thank you. At this point, I'd like to cue up some slides. I have a real quick presentation. As you know, also as part of beginning superintendent training, I am required to go through leadership standards and put those on the agenda in one a month. So tonight, I'm going to give you 3 quick slides on cultural leadership. And basically, it's the role we play in understanding a system's culture and the exemplary performance of all schools. These slides are also loaded onto the portal, so if you want to see these, you can. So I'm not going to read them all to you, but I am just going to give you a couple examples of what we're doing to document cultural literacy. And that is including communicating strong ideas and beliefs about teaching and learning with all of our stakeholders and operating from those beliefs. Creating a unified school system. This is something we've talked a lot about, not a system of schools. We frequently hear from people, including our leaders and our principals, who request that we sort of continue to move towards a school system, not a system of schools, making sure that we have shared vision and equitable practices without removing the important autonomy that exists in our buildings, and to make sure we build trust and promote a sense of well-being between all stakeholders. Just a couple of different examples you can see here that are required. I'm regularly visiting schools. It's one of my favorite things I do. And you can see some examples here of some of those things, including the beginning of school transitions. I will tell you that the one photo is someone told me they had dogs, and so nothing gets your phone out quicker than sharing pictures of dogs, and having a chance to greet people, and then staff and family letters that we continue to send out to communicate not only what we're doing, but also to communicate some of our goals and challenges and solicit feedback. And I found that throughout those, as we have challenges, by taking some of those challenges and communicating those with our staff and our families, we get great feedback and really develop a more solid and better plan and a better set of solutions than if we just simply do it ourselves. So those are a couple examples. And then lastly, of course, part of this is celebrating successes. So we're real quick here. We've already uploaded from the ceremony yesterday with Miss Stewart, opportunities to address, for example, in this picture, the Florence Chamber of Commerce, as well as some of the other communication that we're sending out on a regular basis. And these are just a few brief examples of ways that we are incorporating cultural leadership into the work I do on a daily basis. And if you come back next month, I'll talk about human resources leadership. And with that, I close my comments and I turn it back over to Chairman Parks.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hauswald. We'll move to item 7, audience and citizens. I've invited and placed on the agenda our esteemed Senator Schickel to hear some comments that he might like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's great to be here before the board. I am your state senator, and I've been your state senator for the last 16 years. And I've been in public service all my life in Boone County. I'm a retired police officer, for those of you who haven't been around as long as I have. So I feel very close to the schools, and I'm kind of in the same role as Dr. Brown is, as I'm headed out the door. So I wanted to come by and make one last visit. I come every year, normally we're talking about budgets and funding and things of that nature, and those guys are all down in Bowling Green right now, huddled, working on that for the next session, but luckily I don't have to do that because I won't be here, but I will be there. But I wanted to come by and just talk to you about a few things that are on my mind and on my heart. You know, the school system, the public school system, is a basic legislative responsibility. For those of you, and I always remind my conservative friends of this, that, you know, it's a constitutional responsibility, very clearly spelled out in the Kentucky Constitution, that the state is responsible for a system of common schools, which we call the public school system. One of the best things I ever did when my dad died, right after I was elected, but I hadn't been sworn in yet, and I didn't have, I won the primary, so I had a whole summer off, and my dad died, and I was all depressed, and I was bored, and I was driving across 237, I saw a sign where they wanted bus drivers. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be a bus driver. So I went, and I got my CDL, and I started driving as a subsistence school bus driver for Boone County. It was the best thing I ever did, because it gave me an opportunity to meet people and go in schools and talk to people that I never would have had otherwise. My partner, she just retired from the Boone County school system about 32 years, and she's retired now. But so I was really, you know, I would hear her talk, and I would go in as a police officer. But when you were there working, you're driving that school bus, and you're talking to those principals, it's a whole different perspective. So I was very, very fortunate to do that. But one thing I saw right away was the importance of the school board. You know, the school board is really the most important governance board in the county. And there was actually a principal selection issue about 10 years ago here in Boone County that I was made aware of. And I saw that there was a dysfunctional governance model for the school system. And it really shocked me. And this, you know, I talked to the superintendent, I talked to principal, I talked to parents, because the school board was basically irrelevant. The school board, the voice of the citizens, because you are elected and you hire the superintendent to carry out your policies, did not have a say in things like, and when I say the school board, I mean through the superintendent. You have to, you know, have to have an executive, but did not have a say in things like curriculum and principals being hired. And I was talking to Randy Poe just the other day. I don't know if he's here or not. I thought I saw him, yeah. I was talking to Randy Poe the other day about this, because I got involved in this issue and didn't really mean to, because I'm not on the education committee. I'm a retired police officer, but I got involved in this issue. We worked on it for 7 years, and it never would have happened without Randy Poe and many others. And that's the other thing I want to share with you, is the importance, I believe, of working with people who you don't agree with on everything. You know, and I know I'm kind of rambling here, please excuse me, but I remember when I first ran for this office, I debated Charlie Walton right here. For those of you who don't know, Charlie Walton was a principal in the Boone County school system. And he and I, who were friends, debated right here, and I just barely won that election. It was basically a tie. I beat him by 24 votes. But my point is, and we are friends to this day, and Charlie's sick and not doing well. You need to remember him in your thoughts and prayers. But my point is that to get things done, important things done, you have to have good relationships with people, even people who sometimes you don't agree with or you have serious philosophical differences with. And that, we changed the school governance model in the state of Kentucky. And Randy was saying to me the other day that he thought it was the most significant legislation since CARA. It was the most significant legislation since CARA. The other lesson I've learned is I've worked my tail off on that, and no one ever talks about it. There's other things I get awards for all the time, you know. So the other thing I want to share with you is don't worry about, you know, sometimes these things work the hardest on don't recognize, but it all plays out because the things you get awards for a lot of times you don't deserve. So, so I just wanted to share that with you because the school board now, you're responsible for a lot. You're probably, you know, everyone wants to be a county commissioner, but the budget you control is bigger than the county's, way bigger. And so what I want to do, and if I had more time left, and what I'm going to encourage my colleagues to do is lift up school boards as far as compensation and just really the recognition that they deserve. Dr. Brown said it hadn't been easy, and you know, it's funny. Everybody wants to be in office, whether it's state senator or school board or county, whatever it is. Everybody wants to be in office. Once they get there, they oh my goodness, you know, it wasn't quite. Because she's exactly right. It's not always easy. Many times it's very, very hard. And but what keeps you coming back is you love the community, and in the case of the school board, you love students. There's one thing I want to also say on my way out the door. I want to talk a little bit about school discipline because, you know, there was this thing called PBIS, okay, which is a discipline model quite a few years ago now. And I went through those seminars, and I really think it damaged our school system, and it damaged our discipline in the school system. And we've kind of got away from that now, but no one really, you know, because I go to training every year because I like to see what's going on. But no one says we're not doing that anymore. It just kind of nobody talks about it, and we come up with a different model. The reason I bring it up is our school bus drivers need help. We need a clear system of discipline where school bus drivers do not feel intimidated if they have a problem. And that goes back to the issue of principals, and that's why I'm so proud now that the school board, through the superintendent, can select principals, because as the principals goes, and the assistant principals, goes the discipline on the school bus and goes to the school. And, you know, we can say what we want. We can say what we want, but teacher morale and bus driver morale, I know this personally, is very much connected to that issue. So on my way out the door, please look at that. You have to have a simple that's simple enough that when the driver gets involved, they're not punishing themselves. Because if that system is like that, it gets ignored. And when it gets ignored, it spirals out of control. And it's just a bad situation. I also want to say a little bit about local control. One of the things I'm really proud of is I've really stood up for local control in Frankfort. And let me tell you something, the legislature is not without fault. In fact, I would say the legislature is with fault on this issue. But you need to encourage your associations, the school board association, the administrators, all those associations, to stand up for themselves. Because what I see with local control, you can't be for local control just for what you agree on. And a lot of times that's what happens. And I'll take the school calendar as an issue. You know, I don't particularly like the school calendar, you know, the current school calendar. But you know, that's a local issue. And, you know, you see in Frankfort, the legislature trying to control the school calendar. That's inappropriate. The school board needs to control the school calendar. The school board needs to control the curriculum. And what happens a lot of times is there'll be a tragedy in a school. Something will happen. And there's a big reaction to that tragedy. And then the legislature passes all these things, and you live with that forever. And so then what your training becomes, and I know you all know this, I see you shaking your heads, but I just want to reinforce it. What your training becomes is, and let's just take school bus driver training, for example, because I know. You got all these requirements, and you're literally just punching, you know, you're going, printing out documents that don't mean, you're jumping through hoops. So tell your legislators, you know, they need, you know, we talk about local control until something happens, you know, you want to have, you know, until you have your favorite pet peeve, whether it's diversity or financial literacy or bloodborne pathogens or whatever it is, and we start passing the laws. You know, you got attorneys, you got a whole staff of professionals. We need to leave that to school boards. Farewell.
No one? Thank you, Senator Schickel. My personal opinion is that whether I agree with you 100% of the time or not, I know that we'd be a lot better off if you would continue to be our state senator. Item B, we're going to hear from the public. It doesn't appear that anyone signed up. Is there anyone that would like to address the Board of Education? Okay, all right, we'll move on to item 8, recommended action consent agenda. Items A through double G, Dr. Hauswald.
Thank you, Chairman Parks. I recommend the board approve the recommended action consent agenda items A through double G as presented with the treasurer's report by Ms. Linda Schild. Ms. Schild will now give the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Dr. Hauswald. We began the month with a cash balance of $62.8 million. We had total receipts for the month of $58,900,000. Our expenditures were $21,300,000. That leaves us with a net increase in our cash balance of $37,600,000. Our balance at the end of the month is $100,491,000. A couple of notable items, of course, this time of year is where we're collecting a good majority of our taxes. We did collect $68.5 million. Of that amount, $16.4 million is restricted to building fund. Just in point of interest, the amount that we've collected as of November this year is $3.6 million higher than the amount we collected at the same period last year. The Department of Revenue sent us an unusually large amount of motor vehicle taxes that they collected. They do collect some and remit it to us, so that's about $500,000 higher than what we might normally receive at this time. Also in the expenditures, they may look a little higher for this year when compared to where they were last year, and that is primarily because we had a third payroll date that was processed in the month of November. I believe last year it was in December, so by next month that should look a little more comparable. We had $850,000 in debt service payments this month, and I've provided all of the comparative analysis, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, any questions about the financial report provided? Thank you, Linda. Seeing none? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through double G as recommended? Bird and Young. Any discussion on items on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move further forward with a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. All right. We'll move on to item 9. Recommended old action business item A, Dr. Hauswald.
Thank you again, Chairman Parks. I would recommend the board approve the recommended action old business item A, which is the 2025-26 calendar recommendations. This, upon approval, would become our calendar for next year, as this is the second reading.
Do I have a motion to approve the old business item A, December, from the December board meeting 2025 to 26 calendar recommendation, second reading, as recommended? All right. Wolf and Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right.
Since this calendar is significantly different in certain key months like November, because a lack of an election
Yeah.
year, we need to start communicating this like yesterday. And even though we're going to, if we communicate it monthly between now and next year, we're still going to say, well, why are we off this whole week? No one told me anything.
Okay. We'll start that immediately, and
I just think there's so many differences that
yeah, that's fair.
from our norm that this needs to be.
We'll put that in some communication this spring, and then repeat that again at the beginning of next school year. That's probably a good advice. Thanks, Ms. Byrne. On the record, did you say that I communicate something before we vote, before you vote, agree to it? Is that what did I heard you say?
No.
Oh, after. Okay. All right.
All right. Item 10, or I'm sorry. Yeah, item 10, right? I missed Brent. Recommended action item A, Dr. Hauswald.
Yes, once again, for this item, I recommend approve the recommended action new business item A, the 2026 fiscal year draft budget as presented. A special thanks to all those that were heavily involved in this, including Ms. Shield.
No.
We just had a conversation regarding Ms. Shield's retirement and whether I was going to say something then or later. So she snuck out. But anyway, a special thank you on record. I'll still say it, but to Ms. Shield, Ms. Jackson, Kate, to all of those involved, as well as the budget committee on this work. And so I would recommend approving it as presented.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve new business item A, 26 fiscal year draft budget as recommended? Bird and Brown, we're going to go with. Any discussion? I will say there was much discussion in budget committee with Mrs. Bird and I and the other members of the budget committee over a series of meetings, and I appreciate all the work from Linda and her team and then the other members of the budget committee for going through various aspects of the draft budget. There's a ton of work in a district this size to even produce a draft budget. So I'm much appreciative for all those involved in that process. That being said, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. All right, we'll move on to amended agenda item 10B for consideration of Northern Kentucky Education Council membership agreement.
As standard practices, this item was added by Board Member Wolf. I do know at her request you have before you a recommended membership agreement, and I will yield to Ms. Wolf at this time.
Yes, at our July meeting, we all know how this vote landed. And afterwards, I received varied and passionate feedback from about the decision not to renew the membership for the Northern Kentucky Ed Council. And the reason for my vote, and a lot of the frustration that was pushed through that day, stemmed from our inability to have questions about the Northern Kentucky Ed Council answered in that moment. Now, however, as time passed, the feedback from our educators, administrators, community members became a resounding chorus of concerns, at least to me, We also did, as a board, receive a lot of email and data that did answer a lot of the questions that we raised at that July meeting. And this prompted me to actually look a little deeper into it. And so over the last 4 months, I spoke extensively with Dr. Poe. I heard from school leaders. I actually attended the Northern Kentucky Ed Council's fall convening to see everything for myself. That event itself was eye-opening. And in one room, we had superintendents, board members, and top education leaders from all over Kentucky, including the State Commissioner of Education and executives from our local colleges like Gateway and Northern Kentucky University. And they all were sharing and discussing the challenges and addressing the needs of our current population of English language learners and combating systemic poverty and other things. And it just really showcased that Boone County's challenges were not unique, and we should not be in a silo, and that the Ed Council is a vital force in uniting those regional voices to address them. Some other things I did find out, and we all saw in some of the stuff that was sent to us. The Northern Kentucky Ed Council, they were big in helping with LAVAC or CTE funding for our district, not just our district, but statewide. And this actually snowballed into something that has impacted every single one of our high schools. A lot of this has saved teaching positions. It has also enabled facility upgrades, and it has enhanced programs on graduation pathways. This work also was instrumental in the current expansion at Ignite Institute. And we also talked about scholarship award management, and our big conversation was we could do this kind of thing ourselves. Well, the bottom line is when I looked into it, in order for us to be able to do what they do for us, that alone would exceed the $10,000 membership fee. And that would be assuming we could get a lot of the same level of scholarships and stuff that they offer. The one-to-one reading program, this was actually probably the biggest one for me. This is not a going into the classroom just reading to children volunteer program. This is a one-to-one reading program where these volunteers are actually trained on how to help these kids learn how to read. And this supplements their education at a level that for us to be able to do it, we would have to hire staff members to be able to do that. And we are not in a position to be able to do that right now. So this program does address a vital need in helping academically lost children. The volunteers undergo rigorous training, and basically, if we're helping one kid in this regard, it's a good investment as far as I'm concerned. And then, similarly, again, if we want to do anything with these kind of programs, we have to invest in it. And that would indicate that we would probably have to hire staff to be able to do what the Ed Council does, which again would significantly cost more than the $10,000 membership fee. And I do challenge anyone who has questions that they take the time to do the deep dive. They actually go and talk to Randy Poe, because one of the biggest things you'll learn when you talk to Dr. Poe is he's always happy to talk to you about anything dealing with education. And he will tell you anything you want to know. And I recommend that people take that deep dive and actually go to the Ed Council events, see what it's about, see who you're talking to and who they're putting you in a room with. It has really helped Boone County secure resources and opportunities that we would not be able to achieve alone. And that opened a door for me and opened my eyes. And I think that this was something we could go back and look at again, especially with all the data that we have received in email. And I thought we needed to open up for more discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Wolf. Any other comments? Oh, well, let's move forward. Do I have a motion to approve item XB?
So moved. Second.
All right. And then any further discussion?
My position hasn't changed on this one bit from the last meeting. It was short-sighted to not take advantage of participation with the Ed Council. I know there's been a lot of comments about this being an advocacy unit, and it's so much more than that. But that's an important part of what helps us as a school district, is that they can do things that we cannot. My position has not changed. If we are here to be visionary leaders, to support our students, and to give them every benefit, the research is out there that one of the most critical predictors of a student graduating is, are they reading on grade level by exiting third grade? It's basic, it's simple, it's fundamental educational outcomes. And why we would not take advantage of this just for the expertise of the one-to-one reading program was mind-blowing to me. But if this board is going to do what's best for this district for the right reasons in the right way, my vote remains the same.
My vote also has not changed. I think I was a pretty large advocate for the role that the Northern Kentucky Ed Council played in our schools. I was an advocate then, and I will say the same things now. So I'll just say ditto Karen and ditto my comments before.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm one of the few individuals that tries not to criticize previous board votes. It was the will of the board at the time, short-sighted or not. For 3 years, I've asked the same question. How many schools participate in the one-on-one reading program? Mr. Poe, would you like to answer that question? Come on up.
So we have, I have a presentation. Do you, for Boone County or across the region?
Boone County, yeah.
Okay,
I
Boone
represent
County.
Boone County.
We have Burlington Elementary, North Point Elementary, Stevens, and Collins Elementary. We have 30 coaches out there tutoring, and we provide 5 professional development sessions to those coaches if they need that, or if a principal asks if a mentor needs additional training or anything else like that.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. Our previous superintendent didn't know the answer to that question after several years of my asking. I didn't refer to you. I'm sorry.
And I apologize for not being here in July. Yeah. I did not anticipate the item being on the agenda in July, because I had a meeting set up the following week with Dr. Housewell just to have conversations with him about the Ed Council, because we had it set up for the week after. So that's part of the reason that I was not here, or I would have been here if I had known to answer any questions. So that's why I asked. I'm more than happy to come back and answer any questions.
So I'm always, for my fellow board members, open to criticism. I've endured a lot of it this year, and I'll just refer you back to my first year on this board when I asked, why does the invoice say that we get 4 tickets to a dinner? You remember that?
Yes, I do.
And I believe Ms. Pyle sat on that board with me at the time. And so I just wanted to commend you, and I appreciate doing something that, frankly, no one that works for the district could explain by rewriting the invoice.
Yeah, and
that's really what I was after, is please explain to my constituents why we're paying $10,000 for 4 tickets to a dinner.
That's a very good question, and
Yeah.
I thank you for the input, because those invoices will change in the future, because I don't disagree with you. I got to take blame for that. That was a process that was there prior to me, and I really didn't send those out. The executive coordinator did, obviously with the approval here, but we're going to change those, because I don't disagree with you that thing about the dinner and the tickets, that's really for the business community partners that attend, because each educational group has more than that, and that is for the business partners, and I didn't like that, so we will change that in the future.
Just to be clear to my fellow board members in the community, I actually share the vision that your organization shares. I'm an advocate for public education. I appreciate the work that you've done, not only as a superintendent, but with your work for Education Council. There are just certain things that need to be above board, and they need to be explained.
Sure.
And we had trouble getting the explanation. So I take pride in saying that you and your members, or the people that work with you, do great work for public education in Boone County and around the state of Kentucky. And and you guys gave an award to one of my favorite teachers last year, and I appreciate that.
That's great.
How many students in Boone County receive scholarship, whether it's nominations or awards from the Ed Council, let's say in the last 2 years?
Well, I will say this, in the last 2 years, there's been a decrease from the years previous, and that was one of the questions that I was going to discuss with Dr. Housewell coming up. The last 2 years, for whatever particular reason, there's been less applicants from Boone County schools that were submitted. So there was a decrease. I forget the exact number that was in the letter that I responded to, but I think it was 2 to 4 or something like that. There was a decrease. Prior to that, we used to have one applicant submitted from each school, and we would ask the high school principals to submit a student for each of those category awards, the Academic All-Star, the Against All Odds, and also for the Health Scholarship. So I, like you, if I put on a different hat than the executive director of the Northern Kentucky Ed Council, I would have been encouraging my principals to submit those awards. But the ones that were submitted received an award, and we can only give those, just as an FYI, I do not see any of the, all the awards are judged by a panel of business, and Ms. Parsons, that you all know, leads that committee and gets volunteers from the community and the others, and they submit those back. So, but they do tell me the numbers from the schools that were submitted, because I had to go back and ask them for that record. But the applications from Boone County went from anywhere from 20 to 30 applications down to the ones that did receive the award.
Right.
So my thing would be is if you would decide to enter back into the thing, and I would have a meeting with Mr. Housewell. I know he doesn't need me to come in and say, but I know from his standpoint that he would be encouraging them to. I mean, you recognized a ton of people tonight. There's a lot of those should be recognized, not only in Boone County for their work, but outside of Boone County. Agreed. Because of the work that they're doing. And just like the teacher who won the Milken Award, we would hope that somebody would put her in for a Golden Apple Award. And that also enhances their application for the Teacher of the Year program in the state. It is no coincidence that Northern Kentucky leads the Teacher of the Year programs for the elementary, the middle, and high. And most of those come from the Golden Apple Award winners, because the principals in those school districts nominate them first. They go through that application, and then they build upon that for the Teacher of the Award program. And I know Mr. Ham is a great person who works with our teachers, retired teacher, to get them into the process in crafting that Teacher of the Year application. Because whether we like it or not, how they write up the award helps them get the award. I mean, it's there because the people on those panels, just like the Kentucky Teacher of the Year, they don't see those individuals. You take off the names, and it's what's there on paper, and it's how they write those up. So there's an important aspect of that.
And while new to this, Dr. Poe did send us, for example, the Golden Apple, and said, I understand the board may be considering reconsidering this. And so, I've already shared that with with Dr. Detweiler, and said, how do we make sure that we take advantage fully of the services and the opportunities available. So I know we will, for example, for Golden Apple, we sent that. We'll make sure that we, if approved, we'll have an applicant from every one of our schools. Likewise, we'll take a look at the student scholarship. So I'm not sure what's happened in the past, but we'll make sure that we we fill out the number of applicants to maximize the recognition to our students and staff should the board elect to rejoin.
Yeah, and I would say the reason why we're here tonight is because what we did is, if you reconsider tonight, everybody has the opportunity to share in the awards applications going forward. They do close in the second week of January. So, and that had nothing to do with you all. That is the criteria set up. So that was the importance of why we are discussing that tonight, to have the opportunity. So every child will be considered. And we did talk to the school, so we extended the application deadline by 1 week. I had met with all the other school districts, so they were okay with that. If you do go in, so they know that that's there. It has nothing to do with anything else except for extending that opportunity, that principals would have that additional time over Christmas break. But not only over, it's usually due when you come back from Christmas break because you forget, so you got 1 or 2 days. Now we have the rest of that particular week, and they're extended into the next week, just to give the additional opportunity for anybody to write up applications.
Thank you. I mean, it looks as if this item will pass. And the last thing I'll tell you, Dr. Poe, is that as you know, we just went through a major battle in the state of Kentucky to save, public school funding from being diverted away.
Yes.
And to me, this has been a successful exercise, which our board has been committed to all year, which is a commitment to investigation of where our funds are going and a new level of scrutiny when it comes to vendor contracts and who this board does business with. When I looked at this the first time, I saw the invoice, which we talked about before, and it's that old saying, the appearance of impropriety, right? So the very next year, our board member got a award. Every time we pass this agenda item, our board. So it just looks like people's criticism of public education in Kentucky, which is unfair. It's not that way, and this is not that way.
Agreed.
But I caution you. The public school boards that give contracts to any vendor, whether it's a book publisher or a curriculum development team, they do not deserve an award. We are stewards of public tax dollar.
Yes.
And I take that I'm not from here. I don't have any relationships with any of these vendors. I don't know any of these folks. I'm not in education. I just look at it black and white, and so I'm sorry if that offended folks. And with that being said, again, I do support the mission of Ed Council. I'm glad you repaired the invoice to accurately reflect what it is that this county gets for membership. With that, we'll move forward with the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. 3 yes, 2 no.
Thank you
Motion
very
passes.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. 3-2, sorry, misspoke. All right, item, yeah.
Dr. Poe, how many of our schools utilize the drug-free clubs of America?
Currently you have Connor High School that is offering a drug-free club.
Is it just for high schools, or can?
No, it can be for middle schools too.
But we only have one school?
You have one school that currently does it. You have to have a faculty, the rules of Boone County, you have to have a faculty sponsor, and Connor is the one. At one time, we had all 4 schools, but some of the sponsors have retired over time, and that's the issue that you have.
Oh.
We're open at any particular time to bring back a drug-free club to any of our schools if they have a school sponsor.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Can I just address one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said before. That's the reason why I wanted to make it clear that I don't involve myself in any of those application processes, just for that particular reason. Because, as you well know, my background is Boone County Schools, so I do support everything that Boone County does.
Yes, you do.
But that's part of the reason why I'm not involved in any of those, so that there cannot be that determination. And our Ms. Parsons, who is a a lawyer and an ethical person. That's why she oversees that process, so that if anybody questions the process, I send it to her because she clarifies that. So
I very much appreciate the explanation and for you being here. All right, item 11, information, proposals, and communications. Dr. Hauswald.
I do not believe that our cabinet has anything at this time. I would like to take this opportunity, and I regret that I didn't say it earlier, but I do want to thank and congratulate Miss Linda Shield. As you're well aware, Miss Shield has led our finance department for more than a decade, and she is retiring December 31st. This was our last meeting, and I actually just looked over and said, what's the most appropriate place in the agenda to thank her after the treasurer's report or as part of information, proposals, and communications? And then, of course, she slipped out. So Katie can relay. It's also recorded, but I will make sure that we continue to thank her in the office prior to her departure, but also want to publicly thank Ms. Shield for the service she has provided these past many years, serving as our treasurer and our director of business. So that's all I have. Chairman Parks.
All right. Anyone else? Ms. Young? Ms. Wolf? All right. Well, Ms. Bird? Nothing?
At the Winter Symposium luncheon, in my remarks, they made me issue a challenge to those who attended on taking back to your board something that you had learned. And what I learned from being at that symposium and sitting at the table with our guest legislators, Representative Tipton and Payne, was that while we sometimes are at odds with our legislature, those guys are decent, hardworking guys who want the best for Kentucky kids just like we do. It's just sometimes we are using different lens, but with gentlemen in leadership like Representative-elect Payne and Representative Tipton, I think that Kentucky has a bright future.
Agreed. Well, I need to say a couple of things. One is about Linda Shield. My time on this board, one of the first things I did was spend a few hours in Linda's office. And she gave me a crash course in public school finances that I probably didn't, I know I didn't understand a lot of it. It took me some follow-up sessions to even remotely grasp some of the things that she deals with. And one of the things that you hear in organizations is the word institutional knowledge. And Linda is the holder of Boone County's financial institutional knowledge. And it's impressive to talk to her about any of those aspects that you just can't imagine how complicated, regulated, the amount of accounts and everything. It's just mind-boggling to deal with. So I appreciate Linda's service, and her commitment to our schools has been unwavering over the years. And I wish she was here so I could look at her and tell her how much I appreciate her. And then the last thing I'll say is about Dr. Brown. And I told her this on the phone. This won't come as a surprise to her, but one of the things I was most impressed with is, and took from her and learned from her, was her ability to juggle this particular position, her employment, and her family. And for a single guy, that's tough. But she has more children than I have. And then when you add in her students, man. And I always wait. Anytime we talked about test scores, I waited for Dr. Brown. I need to know what she's thinking, because she probably is really the only person that understands some of that stuff, until, you know, you sit up here for a while. And I know we have gone back and forth on a couple issues, but both of them, I mean, all those kind of things are, you know, they weren't by any means ugly or anything like that. They were just different points of view, and really they're the same point of view. They're just variations, kind of like what Ms. Bird just talked about. But your commitment to Boone County Schools has been your work during, people probably don't know this, but your work during COVID on, I think it was called the COVID committee at the time, or it turned into health and wellness, and then later this year, I think the discipline committee or whatever we ended up naming it, was vital to reopening schools, to getting kids and students back and employees back in the buildings. And what better person than a scientist to be on that committee and on this board. And so there are things like that, multiple issues in which without your expertise, your guidance, your intelligence, your experience as a mother, this board would have had trouble navigating through. And I think that will be, I hope that we don't run into those issues again, because we will surely miss you. And I hope you hold true to your statement about you'll be around, because we're going to need your advice and your help and, you know, your input. And with that, I just want to say thank you.
I want to say thank you to Maria, because I know when I got on this board, you were probably the most welcoming, open person that really mentored me in ways that you probably don't even realize. And if I could be half the board member that you were in your entirety of the time, I would call that a very successful run. So thank you for everything that you've done, for your empathy. I think that's the biggest thing I want to thank you for, is your empathy for our students, all of our students. And the fact that you helped me navigate teaching and learning and get through some of that jargon without making me feel like an idiot. I appreciate that.
This meeting has kind of been like Christmas. You wait for it and you wait for it and you wait for it, and it seems like it's never going to get here. And then all of a sudden it's here and then it's gone. I was not wanting this meeting to come because Maria Brown has been more than just a board colleague. She's been a true friend. And I agree, Mr. Parks, that juggling 4 children, all busy and in activities, being a mom, dealing with all the ups and downs of her collegiate career as an instructor, her doctorate and all of that. She has the best looking graduation gown, hands down, of anybody at every graduation. What I loved about Maria when she came in, she was always the smartest person in any room that she was in. I don't care who was there. She definitely could, because I'm a bottom line kind of person, and she can drill down to what is the most important thing of whatever it is you're discussing in a heartbeat. But she has this wide-eyed wonder of curiosity that is inspiring. And the fact that she will ask questions, dive deep, get the information that she needs before she's satisfied. She leaves nothing unanswered until she has a clear-cut picture of what is best. And she has always, always, always put the students in this district first, as well as support for our staff, being an educator herself. And she brought the unique perspective of seeing the product that we send out into the world going into college, if a student chose to go on to college. She saw the end product of the Boone County schools in her classrooms. And I remember her multiple times saying over the years how proud she was to be standing in front of those students, because she never had any show up from a Boone County school where that were not prepared to be in her classroom. And that's a testament to the leader that she became and is and will always continue to be. I can't say thank you enough. for your unwavering, passionate, do-or-die dedication to Boone County Schools, every child, every staff member, regardless of the role, and the fact that you, by force of will and that wide-eyed wonder, made sure we stayed focused on what was the most important thing, and that is the children of this district and giving them the education that they deserve. However we have to do it, it has to be done. You are irreplaceable, my friend, in so many ways, and I'm truly going to miss you, but I'll see you next week for dinner.
You and I have known each other since our kids were itty bitty, so I knew you as a bunco partner and friend, and then as a board member. And I just second everything everybody has said. You are irreplaceable on this board. I've learned a lot from you in the short time I've gotten to serve with you. Your empathy, like Ms. Wolf mentioned, for students and staff, and you've had empathy for me when I've, come to you to apologize about something, or I've done something, or I felt like I've done something wrong. You always are so kind, and appreciate that. Appreciate your voice, and can't thank you enough for everything you've done. You will be missed.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I already reached out to Julie Maddox and welcomed her and told her I will forever be a resource if she ever needs me. I'll also donate Dr. Poe all of the books that I've read through the years if she wants them. She said she would take them.
It's going to take a U-Haul to get all those books over to her.
It's going to take a big box to carry all those books. So I'm going to pass them to the next generation of board member. But I do wish her the best of luck, and I'm sure she's surrounded by some great people. And I have no doubt you'll embrace her just the way everyone has embraced you. And Krista understands the data more than I do about that stuff. And she never made me feel dumb for asking for the 55th time. And Linda never made me feel dumb for asking about compensated rate and SEEK for the first 5 years I was on the board. So it's been a pleasure. And I hope if you guys ever need me to advocate for you in any way, you just reach out and I would be happy to do so. So thank you for being my friends and for being my colleagues. And Dr. Oswald, I wish you the best of luck. I continue to, pray and hope that everything works out wonderfully, because Boone County is one of the best places I've ever been. So thank you.
All right. I wanted to, this is our last meeting of this year, and I wanted to take a second to point out some of the work that this board has done over the year, and by no means have I remembered all of it. We started the year in a kind of I started the year in a stressful place. Being elected chair in the middle of a upcoming superintendent search and in a campaign season was daunting task for me, which we had some conversations about, all of us up here. And Mrs. Bird said, "You'll be all right." And we entered into the process with a superintendent search firm that was, challenging. And we found Dr. Hauswald along with some other fantastic applicants, and we made a very, very tough decision. And here Dr. Hauswald sits, and it's been, in my opinion, a great transition. We, at the same moment in time, had complicated contract talks going on with basically the largest contracted staff in the state, and one of the largest staffs in the state, period, at the same time. And that stretched all the way until basically last month. Then some good things happened. We gave out the largest raise in Boone County history, which means we had to find a way to afford it. This board has done a great job of trying to figure out how to take care of our employees where we can and save the taxpayer dollars in order to have better use. We continue to provide full-throated support for all the programs that we find dear to us as individuals and as a group. We expanded, or we continue to talk about alternative programs like Home Builders and Insweiler Institute, Regular Blacktop, and all the other programs that each of us as individuals appreciate. One of the things that people don't realize is that with Dr. Brown and Mrs. Wolf help, we reevaluated the student code of conduct, and I don't think we've had a severe disciplinary hearing that's involved the board all year, right? I commend you, for both of you, for that work, and it's a big deal. That means, what that means is that more students are staying in classrooms, and they will continue to work their way through Boone County schools and hopefully into the graduation ceremony. And that is probably one of the best things a school district of this size can say that we have done or accomplished, is that we kept more kids in our classrooms and helped them through whatever tough times they were going through as young people. We, as I said earlier, just last month ended our contract talks with our partners in the BCEA. And so we've gone through a lot this year. I am so positive about the year that we've had. With Dr. Hauswald's help, we have gone from being a reactive board to a proactive board. And that is a testament to each member that has sat on this board this year. And I look forward and hope that that can continue in 2025-26 school year. And then the last thing I'll say is I hope all of our staff have a great holiday and Happy New Year, as this might be the last time we get to see everybody, unless, you know, at school or whatever. But thank you all for your support for Boone County School students. All right, with that, we're going to move into item 12, the fun and glorious closed sessions per KRS 61.810, proposed or pending litigation involving a public agency. I have a motion to go into closed session. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes.